So, people must be popping in your head by now. And you're going, I just don't care, I don't want to tolerate that.
Well,
Okay.
but what about the victim? There's the victim.
That's the placater.
That's the placater?
The placater is the victim.
Is the victim?
Yeah, and here's a little tidbit of information about victims. It's the same concept as a blamer.
Mm-hmm.
A victim, if they are truly viewing themselves as a victim, it's because they're at fault. They did something that caused the situation, or they're completely lying altogether. But somebody who's legitimately a victim doesn't feel like a victim.
But I think there's more to that than just the victim. There is, but because of what I already know, there is other aspects that we've already talked.
I'm gonna tell you a story that Scott tells in seminar a lot when he's teaching this. So there was this woman, he had a woman who had been to multiple therapists over multiple years, couldn't have sex with her husband, was very frigid. She was jogging, completely unassuming, wasn't doing anything wrong. She was jogging in a park. She got full boat, traditionally raped. A guy jumped out of the bushes, grabbed her, threw her down, raped her. She was bloody and beaten. He ran off. She reported it to the police. She did everything right. She wasn't asking for it. She was not responsible for it. But she had really bad side effects from it that nobody was able to help her, and she wasn't able to have sex with her husband again, and she was really freaking out. It had been a long time. So she comes in to see Scott. Scott happened to have just been reading about it somehow. So this girl comes in and she starts telling her story for the umpteenth time, and he goes, "Why haven't you told anybody?" And she's like, "What? Tell him what? Why haven't you told anybody?" "Tell him what? Why didn't you tell anybody you came?" "How did you know?" She cried. Well, it's a natural response. Your body responds. The number one sexual fantasy for women is to be with another woman. This is interesting to you. The second most popular fantasy among women, sexual fantasy among women, is to be overtaken by a man. It is a natural, visceral response for our body to respond in a rape situation. It's just animal instinct, normal, from one tribe taking over another. So sometimes that happens. It doesn't mean you condoned it. It doesn't mean you liked it. It just means your body went into that path of survival. Well, that's all that that's all that it took to fix it, was for her to say it out loud, confess it to somebody, and then have the right person, who was Scott. She lucked out that was the person she screamed it out loud to and confessed it to, because he handled it perfectly and just went, "Well, of course you did. Most women do." And then gave him all the statistics and facts, going, "Doesn't have anything to do with you or your husband, doesn't make it okay what he did. That's normal. Why didn't anybody tell you that was normal?" And then she was fine. She walked away, she was fine, she was never a victim again. But then there are other people who had their ass slapped at the racetrack or something. And then they go get a picket sign, and they start a foundation, and they raise money, and they take people out, and they throw parades. And it's because they like the attention. And the reason they're victimizing themselves is for the secondary gain, or because they were walking around in a tiny little skirt, bending over all day long trying to get somebody to grab their ass. And then when somebody finally did, they jumped on it. But though generally a true victim, in the true sense of the word of a victim, doesn't feel like a victim. They weren't responsible for it happening. They brush themselves off and they go off. They won't feel victimy. They might feel anger and resentment if somebody took, like set them back so far in their life that it's not regainable, like did so much harm that they can't recover from it. They might hold on to anger and resentment about it, but it's not going to be victimhood. It's going to be anger and resentment, or distrusting of other people, but it's not victiming, and you can see the difference. So there's no such thing as verbal abuse, because everything is perspective. So if you say, I was verbally abused, no. All feedback is either useful or unuseful. If somebody says you shouldn't wear your hair like that, Gina, it's either useful or unuseful feedback. You could go, well, fine, but kind of work around moving equipment, my hair would be ripped out of my head, but anyway, it's either useful or unuseful feedback. I'll take that in. Maybe the next time you look in the mirror, you'll take your ponytail out, whip your hair around and go, yeah, too sexy for words, can't go in public like this, I'll put it back in a ponytail. But it's either you just useful or unuseful. If I said that shirt looks great on you, that's useful or unuseful feedback. The next time you go in your closet and you choose all of the clothes, you'll remember, you'll have the anchor to, somebody complimented me on that shirt. I know I look good in that. Even if I don't like the way I look in it, I know that I got a bunch of compliments that day on it. And that's useful feedback. I need a lot of clothing useful feedback because I don't have any taste or style, and I can't match clothes. And it's bad, bad, bad. So my sisters take me shopping, and then I just wear what they tell me looks good, and I trust that what they said is true because I have no taste when it comes to clothes. So useful, unuseful feedback. So abusive, and anything that repeats over and over again can become an anchor. So just like hypnosis is repetition, authority, and trauma. Anything that repeats over and over again, your subconscious will start repeating it for you. But your imprint stage from 0 to 7 years old is really the core of what you believe about yourself. But a marriage where somebody says, oh, he was verbally abusive, you can take it in as useful or unuseful. What I'm trying to teach you here today is to observe people over here and not be so about yourself. That is a specimen over there acting out based on their life experience. If I walk up to you and go, you have the most gorgeous red hair, it's fantastic. You're not going to walk out of here and go, I have red hair all my life. I thought I had brown hair, but now I know I have red hair. No, you're just going to go, is she colorblind or something? Do you see what I'm saying? Based on, maybe I am colorblind. I had a woman tell me I had beautiful red hair once, and I did. I ran to the bathroom and I checked. I was like 9 years old. She was colorblind. And she thought I had red hair. She was visiting my parents sitting in the living room, and it was dim light. It was like just incandescent light. But it did make me run and check in the bathroom to see what she was seeing. And then I said, I have blonde hair. And she said, oh, that's just because I'm colorblind. Sorry about that. And khaki looks like pink. I learned that from colorblind people, because I had a colorblind friend that said, that's disgraceful. That woman should be shot. You can't dress a boy up in pink overalls. That's a stupid thing. She should be shot. And I'm like, honey, those are Carhartts. It's khaki. Those are khaki overalls. They're very masculine. Don't go. He's like, oh, well, he was colorblind. So now I understand. So people are having their life experience. So if you can step out of insecurity. So remember, blamer, placator, computer, distractor are self-esteem protection devices. If you're not protecting your self-esteem, if you're not defending anything, then you can observe people and ask yourself, what are they proving? What are they protecting themselves from? What are they hiding? What is their major malfunction? What is their biggest fear? And then with loving compassion, like unconditional love, you say it. You put it on the table. If somebody's just blah, 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 blaming you, look, I know you did everything you could to make this work fine. I had to do conflict resolution for 2 years with people who weren't satisfied with their hypnotist wherever it was in the country, and then I had to take over their case. If they're blaming, the first thing you have to do is assure them that they're not at fault. I know you probably did everything you knew to do to resolve this situation. So, and then you chunk up. So this is the communication. So there's big chunk and little chunk. So we have like transportation. And then cars, planes, trains. And then you have Ferrari, Ford, Chevy. And then you have door, elbow. And then under wheel you have lug nut. See what I'm saying? This is small chunk, this is big chunk. Doesn't matter who you're talking to, if you wanna get back into agreement, you just have to chunk back up to where you originally agreed. Sometimes you have to go pretty far up there. Life! We're both human beings. We're sucking it in and blowing it out. We both want to stay alive today. Can we agree on that? Okay. We both work in the same location. Can we agree on that? But sometimes you have to chunk pretty big up. But any conversation, if you just chunk back up to the point where you were in agreement, which is, okay, what's the goal here? We need the report. So our 4 o'clock report that you had a hissy fit about when I wouldn't be distracted by the gossip, all we have to do is go, we really need the report for the bigger end. Can you help us make that happen? Or what do we need to do to make that happen in the right amount of time? So you take the pressure off. And this you can check to see what they're proving. So chunk up to the well, I typed this and I was stapling them and then I ran out of toner and blah 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 blah. Look, we need to get what do we need to do to get this report out by 4 o'clock? Because it takes you out of the toner ran out conversation back up into producing the report. Let's back up to where we were calm again. So you're matching where you were in agreement, and then you solve the problem lower. I'm asking all of you to be the most mature person in the room when it's time to communicate. How do you feel about that? That sometimes is the deal breaker. And appreciate that when people come into programs, only 75% of people actually are accepted as a client when they come in for a free screening. If you look at my file cabinet and you pull it out, I have this many files in programs and I have this many files that say no or decline. And that's because some people don't want to be the bigger man, and they're pretty open and honest about it. No, I don't want to actually have to work for a living. It's like, okay. And there's no way you want me to help you see it differently. No, okay. So communicate back up to the point. Does anybody want to give me an example of a conversation that they've recently botched?
There's two. Well, it's hard to follow.
Pick your best
What?
I can't think of anything at the moment.
Mine's nothing like what she's explaining.
How is it? What's your
Mine is
General.
more, I'm back here, my job, parts, service, back here.
Yeah.
You're up here, store accessories, bring people up,
Yeah.
answer the phone. Not sit on your phone and let people walk in the door looking for things and I have to come up and do your job for you.
That's exactly this conversation. That's
But
exactly.
I mean, I have, being nice gets nowhere.
Remember that placating just lands you on anger and resentment.
Mhm.
Remember that.
Yeah,
So
that's me going to
and
help the
that's-
customer and doing his, that's.
Doing
I'm
his
placating.
job for you has trained him to have you do his job, which is what a placater does.
Mhm.
And then you wind up in the back room of some old building with the hypnotist all filled with anger and resentment. That's what happens. That's what happens when you do that. So what I'm saying is to level. So when you level, you focus on the goal. How do I want this to go? I want somebody in the front who actually has excitement about customer service, because you have excitement about customer service. So you're going, no I don't. Yeah you do.
Well, I mean, I
'Cause you
do,
run
I,
for
that's,
hell.
I don't, I like my job because I like helping the people with what I help them with. I enjoy that. I
Yeah.
like somebody comes to me, they got a problem, okay, well, you know, we'll do this, we'll get it taken care of. I like doing that. But I don't like Joe Blow sitting on his ass over here, cause he has a hangover.
And you've asked,
Oh,
are you the manager though?
no, that's just it, I'm
You're
not his
just, you're
boss.
just a coworker.
Yes,
And you've talked to the manager.
manage, you would have to understand this whole company, family, don't conflict, because then this guy's gonna yell at me. Not me, but manager is not going to,
Oh, the manager, so the manager has no balls, is
exactly,
what you're saying?
yes.
Okay, so you've been placating this person and trained them to not, you've trained them to make it easy to not do their job.
Well, I say something a lot all the time, but
So that,
he knows somebody is going to, if he doesn't do it, somebody's going to.
and this is a child of the owner, and so he can't get fired?
No, he's somebody they brought in. Okay, there's only a few people here, let's put it this way.
Let's stop this. We'll stop